A new year, a new series. That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here, and welcome to the very first installment of the incredibly creatively titled Tiki's Thoughts on. I mean, doesn't that title just blow your mind? All right, folks. So, what we're doing here is this is going to be my vlog for each and every film that I see in 2019. Now, importantly, this isn't going to be every single film. For example, when something like Endgame comes out, or Star Wars Episode 9, or Toy Story 4, or The Lion King, or any of those big kind of marquee tentpole movies throughout the year, we're going to be doing proper spoiler casts on those. Don't you worry. We're going to be breaking down, doing like big, like hour, 2 hour long discussions on all those movies. I may or may not do a Tiki's thoughts on for those movies. I haven't really decided that yet, but I'm kind of leaning towards no. What Tiki's thoughts on is supposed to be is this is supposed to be the series that highlights all the smaller films that I go to see each year, which I mean, there's a bunch of them. I've seen I saw close to 60 movies in 2018, and that was actually kind of a low number on my end. I believe in 2017, I saw closer to 80 movies. So, point being, with all those, there's a ton of movies that came out last year, movies like Searching, movies like Instant Family. Uh, these are all films that I freaking loved in 2018, but we never really got a chance to talk about because Dragon didn't see them, Sandy and Jacob didn't see them. And so they kind of fell by the wayside. So last Tiki's thoughts on is going to be the first solo vlog series that I've done on the channel in some time. My solo videos have kind of gotten mixed results, in the past when I did solo Christmas in July podcasts. They've been met with some critical people not really digging it, but I'm hoping to be a little bit more engaging this time around, as I've gotten a lot of practice podcasting in the past couple of years since I've done that. Anyway, so yeah, that's the basis of this whole thing. I'm just going to be talking about smaller movies that I've seen in 2019 and beyond, assuming, and kind of give you my thoughts. Each of these are probably going to be about 20 to 30 minutes. That's my goal. Just kind of nice bite-sized, like sort of vlog style thoughts. Anyways, the first movie we're going to be talking about on Tiki's Thoughts On is going to be a movie I saw last night, and I'm really glad I saw it because I was kind of debating whether or not I should go see this. I was like, well, it's a January horror movie. Like famously, it's a first week of January horror movie. I mean, the track record on first week of January horror movies are not good to say the least. I mean, God, like it goes all the way back. I think 2007 or 2006 or something like that. There was this first week of January horror movie, One Missed Call, which my buddies and I still kind of talk about from time to time because it was so bad. But Escape Room is a movie that when I saw the trailer for it, it definitely intrigued me. I really liked the concept for this one. I liked the whole idea of taking something that's getting more and more popular in real life, these escape rooms, and turning them on their head and doing a thriller horror movie out of them. I mean, I thought there was a lot of potential that they could have reached with that. And so, I walked into Escape Room last night, just sort of like cautiously like, all right, this could really suck, or this could be a good time. And I got to be honest with you guys, it was a damn good time. I mean, this movie's a solid 7 out of 10, like a solid 7 out of 10. And a 7 out of 10 for a first week of January horror movie, that's almost a fucking miracle that it's that good. I mean, is it a perfect movie? No. Is it a great movie? No. Is it going to wind up in my top 10 of the year? Hell no. But at the end of the day, this was a very, very solid popcorn flick. It really was. Escape Room, there's two main things that I liked about it. And then after I talk about the things I like, I'll talk about the things that kind of derailed it. So first of all, the set pieces in this movie. I mean, I honestly think that they got the premise down. I mean, there's a lot of really cool sequences in this thing. I mean, it's like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory from hell. I mean, that's actually, come to think of it, when I was watching the movie, that is kind of what that's honestly how I would compare this movie to. It's like a horror version of Willy Wonka. It's like all these people, they don't get golden tickets, but they get this mysterious cube, inviting them to this escape room thing. And then as they go through this giant kind of weird building, they're getting picked off one by one, but it's in a very Willy Wonka style way where it's like, okay, I guess there goes that character. Now we all have to be more careful. So, I mean, the set pieces in this movie, especially the first three set pieces are fucking great, honestly. The first one being the heat room, which was really intense, really well done, really made you feel like you were in the moment. And then there was the snow room, which you can see in the trailer, the whole like, hey guys, question, are we inside or outside? That was really well done. Again, you could kind of feel the tension of, the hypothermia starting to set in as all the characters are trying to figure out what to do and how to get out of this situation. And then came the upside down room. The upside down room, guys, I don't even want to give much detail about this thing because it's kind of something you have to see for yourself. Like, this is the reason why this movie will be remembered. The upside down room sequence is pretty damn great. I mean, it was inventive as all hell. You have the Petunia Clark song Downtown being played in like a bunch of different distorted ways, kind of throwing off the characters and their, and their thought thinking process. You have all this crazy upside down perspective stuff going on. You've got a really suspenseful, set piece with the floor falling out from the characters. It's crazy, man. It was damn good. I mean, I was really, really impressed. And at that point, I was thinking, man, I mean, if this movie continues to go where it's going, I'm going to be really impressed with it. Unfortunately, I feel like the movie peaks with the upside down room. After that, it's not that the movie's bad, it just gets a little less creative. For example, one of the next rooms it's mostly just they're in a room and they have to escape because poison will go off. There's no real set piece to it. I mean, there is, but I don't want to give it away because it's kind of a plot twist. But there's no real visual creativity with some of the other rooms. It's really just those first three that really get you hooked into the film and being like, all right, this premise is being executed really well right here. Unfortunately, like I said, the film kind of, as it goes on, it sort of just kind of peters out. The rooms get less creative, and then ultimately I'll kind of circle back to this, but the ending of this film I don't hate it as much as some people do. I really don't, but it is a mess, and it is pretty blatant sequel bait. But let's talk about the other thing I really liked in this movie, and this was even a bigger surprise than the set pieces, because you can have an inventive film with inventive set pieces and still have sucky characters. But I mean, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. Each and every character in this movie, it's not like it's not like a masterclass in like ensemble filmmaking or anything like that. None of these performances are gonna be remembered by the end of the year, with the exception of maybe Deborah Ann Woll, which I'll get to. But all the characters in this movie, if they're not likable, they at least work in the context of the story. For example, excuse me. For example, Logan Miller plays a character called named Ben, and Ben is one of the main characters of the film, and he is not really likable throughout a lot of the movie. He's brash, he's sort of a complainer. His backstory is kind of one of the least sympathetic because it's like, yeah, something bad happened to him, but it was entirely his fault. But I feel like at the very least, the character was written in a nuanced enough way that you kind of felt a little bit of humanity for him. Now, some of the other characters are just really refreshing. Probably my favorite character in this whole film is Mike, played by Tyler Labine. Now, Mike is just kind of this middle-aged, schlubby truck driver archetype type character. And I gotta tell you, man, it was really refreshing to see this, like, this fat, bearded, salt of the earth kind of guy in a horror movie like this. It was super refreshing because most of the Blumhouse style horror movies and stuff like that, it's all young 20 something pretty people, right? And the character of Mike kind of subverts that a lot. Jay Ellis is Jason, not a likable character, kind of the antagonist of the whole film. He's the one who is the most out for himself and the most out to get that, elusive $10,000 prize. By the way, am I the only one who thinks that $10,000 is like not nearly enough for the shit that these people go through? I mean, people win $500,000 for spending 3 months in a house on Big Brother. It's like, this is like life and death stuff here. I digress. Importantly, we have Taylor Russell as Zoe. Zoe is a really, really good character because she is not your stereotypical, hot girl in a horror movie. She's very reserved, very mousy, very quiet, but also super intellectual, super smart, helps them out of a bunch of situations. Again, not your standard horror movie character. There's actual dimension to her as a person. Deborah Ann Wool, let's talk about her because she has maybe the standout moment of the whole film. I mean, this bitch is like, she's like Sarah Connor in this movie in some spots. She is a badass, man. I really, really like Deborah Ann Wool's performance. Of course, she's most people would know her as Karen Page in the Marvel Netflix stuff. But she really stood out, man. She plays a character called Amanda who has war trauma, really, really kind of reserved, sticks to her guns, is the main character in the film who wants to get out of the situation at all costs. She's not about to play games with this whole situation. And she has one really, really memorable sequence in the upside down room that I think is going to kind of submit her. If anything, it's maybe the best sequence in the film. So with that in mind, I think Deborah Ann Wool maybe pulls off the performance of the whole film. Now, some of the other characters are a little, you have Nick Dodani is Danny, and Danny's just kind of your stereotypical, like, he's the guy who's been in 1,000 escape rooms. He's the fan. He knows everything. He's kind of the, kind of the insulary character who's kind of well versed in all the stuff that they're dealing with. He's fine. He's maybe a little bit obnoxious. But all in all, I think all the characters in this movie, even Danny he's got an interesting look to him, and he's not just a stereotypical nerd. And all these characters have a tragedy behind them. I'm not going to give away how it all ties together, but all these characters have a dark past, and you're really intrigued to see what those things in their past are. They kind of, build a mystery about it throughout the film. So the characters are very memorable, man. They are. Now, unfortunately, the worst thing about this movie and what really drags it down is the ending. I'm not going to get too much into spoilers or anything, but shit, man. I mean, you had it and then you lost it. I mean, I thought that the final sequence in the actual escape room was like really stereotypical. It's like, oh no, one of the characters is caught by the big bad and another character has to go and rescue him. And then even worse is the freaking last scene in the movie, which it just turns what could have been a really interesting, mysterious company running these escape rooms into basically M. Bison, basically just mustache twirling, take over the world style villains. And they have no motivation whatsoever besides, yeah, let's fuck with these people and make money off of the elite in Vegas or whatever that can gamble on people's lives. Yeah. it's weak sauce, man. It's really weak sauce. It doesn't. Ironically enough, I feel like the sequel bait in this movie is going to be the main thing standing in the way of this movie getting a sequel because it's just not good. And it's going to maybe sort of not shed a good light on the film as a whole. I feel like it's going to leave a bad taste in people's mouth, which is a shame because this movie's got some damn good stuff in it. It really does. All right, guys. So at the end of the day, Escape Room, it's got more good stuff in it than bad. I'll say that much. It's like in terms of a first week of January horror movie, it might be the best first week of January horror movie I've seen in maybe ever, which is not saying much. It's like Insidious, The Last Key, and crap of that nature. That's just total fucking dumpster ground. It's way better than stuff like that. It's got a really engaging concept. It's got three really good set pieces. It's got surprisingly well written characters and some good performances. But unfortunately, it just kind of gets crushed under the weight of its own freaking logic and world building. And they try to go too big for their britches in the last moments of the film. And they try to make this film something that it really shouldn't be. And so that's it, guys. That is my take on Escape Room. I'm really excited to be doing this series. Now that I'm working full time and everything, I have plenty of money to go see movies. Honestly, I'm really trying to aim to see everything that comes to my theater this year. Like, I'm probably not going to get to each and every movie. But for example, The Upside and A Dog's Way Home, I have next to no interest in A Dog's Way Home, but for some reason, I'm just kind of compelled, like, all right, it's like me, let's see, maybe it could be something there. I don't know, guys. I really want to kind of break into this sort of movie criticism atmosphere on YouTube and really start to dig into it and, not just see the big movies that everyone wants to see and not just cover those movies, but cover everything. Now, The Upside with Bryan Cranston and Kevin Hart, that movie, Dragon and I are actually going to be discussing together because, of course, Dragon is seeing that movie because he loves Bryan Cranston. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do a Tiki's thoughts on for that movie. If I do, it'll probably be before the podcast with Dragon and I, but I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But yeah, folks, that is it. That is the pilot episode, if you will, for Tiki's thoughts on. Let me know what you think. I hope that me ranting and rambling solo is at least somewhat cohesive and coherent. And yeah, have a good time, folks, and go out there and see more movies. See you later.